Oh, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Sean here again with another edition of the Pocket Change Market Report. This time for March 8th, 2023. I want to thank you guys for tuning in on this video where we're going to explore some of the favorite errors and varieties that sold on eBay within the last 24 to 48 hours. Everybody loves going here to see how much these coins sell for, and how can I blame them? They're selling really well. I would say that, for the most part, the market's doing really well, but we've seen drop-offs in a few different types of errors specifically. Laminations, clip planchets, things of that nature have kind of receded a little bit in value. And it's pretty apparent if you're going to do a general search for some of these lower end kind of U.S. mint errors on eBay. You're going to see that the market's kind of cooled a little bit for these. But at the same time, when you're looking at some of the higher end stuff, they're still selling really well. And the higher end, more scarce types of errors and varieties will always be the linchpin for collecting, especially for those folks that are looking for pieces that are worth a lot more than the traditional kind of lower end stuff. But you're also going to find that some of the lower end stuff is still doing pretty well. Some of the newer coins specifically are doing okay, like the good old 2017 Lincoln Clash Dice that I've talked about quite a bit is staying relatively strong. They're selling really well right now, which is a good thing because it gives everybody a little bit of a target to be on the lookout for, and they're not particularly rare. That's the even better part to it. So before we jump into the list today, a few little odds and ends. Number one, we don't talk about graded coins because I'm not personally a proponent to grading errors and varieties. These coins, as a standalone, will sell for themselves. That's the good news. You don't have to spend $30 or $60 to send these off to a grading company to get that attributed. All right, that's very important, especially if you're reselling them. And the second item I wanted to talk about is the coins that you're going to see here today are all original images from the sellers. So I didn't juice any of the photos. I didn't do anything differently other than crop them down so that way I could mate them up, obverse and reverse, all in one photo. It'll help kind of expedite the process of going through this list, which sometimes can take upwards of an hour if I didn't do that. So just another way for me to kind of expedite the process. And it's the relatively clean set of photos here this week, which is pretty good. So let's go ahead and see what we have here. Let's go ahead and start her out with a pretty big one. This is a Lincoln Memorial Cent. It is a Zincan era, so anything post 1982. With that copper-coated zinc composition, you can see the exposed zinc on a few areas of this coin. But you can't mistake a good old-fashioned cud die break, which is what you see here. Now, we don't have a full readable date because the cud in question is covering that area where the date is. So it's from the 1900s, and more specifically, it's a coin probably from 1982 to 1999. So quite a large range of dates that it could be, but nonetheless, a very nice coin. These things are incredibly value, and cuds are kind of one of the big kings of the error world right now. They just seem to sell not only effortlessly, but for a lot more money than any other error out there today. Like this one, as an example, sold here within the last day for $56.99. All right, so these are the type of things that we want to strive to look for. They're kind of like a medium difficulty on the searchability factor, but if you go through a large volume of coin every single week, you will find these. All right, but if you're just searching a few rolls, a few coins here and there, it's going to be tough because on that smaller scale, cuds in general are a lot more tougher and have a lot more scarcity to them for a low volume searcher. So keep that in mind. The more you hunt, the better your odds are of finding one of these. The next one that we have here is a coin that was actually sold by a prominent error attributor. Mike Diamond has his own store on eBay, and he had this one thrown up here. So it's a 1960s coin. Mike Diamond seems to think it's a 1966 based off of just a little remnant of the last 6 that shows on there. But this is a classic case of a misaligned dies error. And at first glance, if you're looking at this coin for the first time in the palm of your hand and you have it face up as far as obverse, it's going to look off-center, all right? And that's easy to mistake for something like this. So you always have to flip it over, see what's on the reverse. Misaligned dies is exactly that. The hammer die is slightly misaligned, maybe a little bit loose, and that's the big reason why that the front of the coin is off center, but not the back. What you do see is some of that requisite weakness here on the kind of crescent left side of the coin. That's completely normal with this type of error. But generally with any misaligned die errors, and they could be pretty minor, or they could be really extreme like this one, where it becomes very desirable is how much of the devices are cut off on that front side. So this coin right here sold for $52, which is a really solid sale for something like this, and a very tough date to boot. Now, this one is pretty rough, but it's worth throwing up on here. 2019 Lincoln Shield Cent shows a die crack with a few die chips going into the date. This is a very well-known one from what we've seen in the past, and this is probably the lowest graded specimen that you will ever come across. Now, it's not graded, but as far as technical grade from what it looks like, it's probably, I don't know, it looks corroded, lots of scratches and things of that nature on the coin. This one right here ended up selling for $10.25, proving yet again that sometimes grade just doesn't matter. If you have a relatively decent example of something that the market will want, it will find a way to sell. So $10, I would take that all day long for this, for a problem-ridden coin here. Here's this is what an off-center coin would look like, because it's off-center on both the obverse and reverse. 1983 is the date on this one. Decent looking coin, but it does show fingerprints and a lot of carbon spotting. So in a way, it's a little bit of a problem coin. And that's even more notable because it's a copper nickel or a copper coated zinc. I'm getting my compositions all mixed up here. So, with corrosion and zinc, those are two things that really don't go hand in hand. Zincans aren't really long for the world. The more moisture that is present around these coins, it's going to do a number to them. This one right here is sold for $17.48. Just a really decent sale. And Fox Coins had a number of pretty nice sales. A lot of RPMs and varieties. We have this 1944 D over D RPM, which stands for Repunch Mint Mark. Prior to 1990, a lot of the mint marks were hand punched into the working die. So as you could kind of figure out, if a coin or a die rather has been punched with the mint marks on there, a mint employee can't screw up, and then they'll retap the letter in there. This is a little bit of what this one looks like. This is RPM number 8, by the way, out of a few that does exist for this date and mint. This coin sold for $12.49 with 9 bids. And we also have another one here by Fox Coins. This one, however, is a Cherry Picker's Guide variety. 1953 D over D Lincoln Wheat Cent is one of the more common ones you could come across. I find these quite often during my wheat cent searches. This is RPM number 1, but it is also called FS 501 in the Cherry Picker's Guide. But you can see the secondary Denver mint mark is punched west of the primary, and oftentimes when you find these coins, if with even just the naked eye, if the Denver mint mark is completely south of the 5 of the date, usually it's between the 9 and the 5, and then just further south from that, but this one is directly under the 5. That's a good start. because that's where this normal placement is for this RPM. So this one sold for $13.99 with 6 bids. So here's another misaligned dies, again by Fox Coins, and this one is a little bit lighter of a misaligned die compared to the previous specimen that we looked at sold by Mike Diamond. This one is the 1971D. Again, another thing to look out for. This is probably one that a lot of people would find in change today. This one ended up selling for $22.49 with 10 bids. So a very, very, very equitable error coin here. If you do come across them, I know even lesser examples tend to sell for $5 to $10. So it's certainly worth, pulling out of change when you do come across it. Anything with like a doubled rim on one side or a little bit thicker rim, those are all kind of precursors to a misaligned die. And Fox Coins also has this 1944p Lincoln wheat cent. Now, the coin admittedly does have a number of scratches on the obverse, and that's unfortunate because overall the coin is in fantastic shape. It's got plenty of mint red luster all over the place, and even more so in the protected areas of the coin. But what we have here is a slightly off-center coin by just a little bit. I mean, you can look at this and make the argument that it could be an uncentered broad strike as well. They look very similar. So this one right here sold for $40.99 with 22 bids. And again, that's even with the scratches that you see present on the obverse of the coin. All right, so you're going to see a few of these interesting national park quarters, and they're not all that in a bag of chips as far as appearance goes. Like this one, man, this thing has seen a lot of action in commerce over its 7 years in existence, but the good old Fort Moultrie quarter outside of that can be forgettable. But there is a few things to be on the lookout for. This particular coin right here, if you haven't seen it, you will certainly miss it. We'll have a few die chips in that flagpole area right above the characters or whoever the figurehead is on the reverse, right above their shoulder. So look out for these. They're actually going to fill in that area, that void of where the flag connects to the pole. So pretty nice. This is something that not a lot of people look for. And they're generally overlooked. But this one sold for $7.50. And while it doesn't seem like a whole lot, keep in mind the condition of the coin. That is something that plays a huge role in the value of these. And even one that's as circulated as this one, $7.50, that's still not bad. Again, that's something I would take all day long on my eBay sales. Here's a really nice 1966 Lincoln Memorial. This one is just straight up a broad strike. So broad strikes occur when the collar that normally holds the coin in place during the strike is not engaged at all. All right, so it's not present. With that being said, the metal flow has to go outward somewhere. So it makes the coin a lot bigger. This one is probably encroaching to the size of a standard US nickel, which is again a little bit bigger size coin than a Lincoln cent. This one right here ended up selling for $10.74 with 2 bids. And then again, looking at this is something that you can easily overlook, especially when you're not aware of what specific errors are. All right, we got another Fox Coins inclusion in here. 1970s is the date on this. And no, it's not a small date, but it's something just as sweet. The coin is overall in beautiful shape. I would be proud to own something like this. This is RPM number 1, and a very, very recognized cherry picker's guide as well. I believe it's FS501, and again, you can see the secondary S mint mark is punched north of the primary, so it's got the double loop on the top there, and it's one of those things you have to be on the lookout for. So if not for the small date variant of this, look out for the RPMs. There's a few different types for the date. This one sold for $24.49 with 18 bits, but a lot of that has to do with the condition because it's just beautiful. This is a really nice coin. All right, well, we're all familiar with the In God We Rust Kansas quarters, right? I mean, it's been a part of our lives forever. If you're a quarter roll hunter, then, odds are you've probably come across a number of them. But did you know they exist on other states as well? How about California here, where we have just a really light looking punched T there, which could be filled dies, and that's pretty much what the In God We Rust anomaly is the missing letter of T in trust, along with maybe a few other letters. That's how it got its nickname. So this one right here sold for $15. While again, not a ton of money, it's a coin that oftentimes, we subconsciously don't think about selling, for anything more than a few dollars. But the In God We Rust quarters, specifically the Kansas and any other ones you could find, they have a kind of collector base that's really dedicated to these. So keep that in mind. If you come across these, always pull them out. All right, so we have another great one here. Cappy's Coins has been selling the stuffing out of these 1995 FS101 doubled die obverse for quite a while. I think he has a few left over, so go check out his eBay store if you're looking for a premium mid-state red example like you see here. Of course, the big doubling is going to be in both Liberty and the motto In God We Trust. If you don't have one, now might be a good time to pick up one of these as supplies are starting to wear a little thin out there. This one right here ended up selling for $55.98. That is the buy it now offer on these, and he does have a few of them available. And for you roll hunters out there of the $50 variety, this 1974D again is a big date for a very notable doubled die. This one is FS101, and it shows really, really strong doubling in the motto In God We Trust. It gets stronger as you go to the right, and the word trust is just amazing. You can see the double tails of the 9 and the T and the S and all that. This particular one right here has some die deterioration, so that's why it kind of looks a little bit mushy. And some would say that this is a later die state as well. So always a pursuant of these type of coins, and they're quite common. So if you're a roll hunter, you've probably found a good number of these. You're not going to have to look too hard to find the FS101. That's the good news. But because of the availability, these are relatively inexpensive, good enough for maybe some of you to pick one up. This one sold for $12.99, so not too bad. So we have a couple back-to-back very nice varieties that I think maybe one day will end up being Cherry Picker's Guide varieties. This is one of the big ones here, and I've been a huge fan of the 2015 Lincoln Shield that exhibits the WDDO number 6. It's a well-known doubled die, and you're going to see a lot of that great doubling on the date, which is very noticeable, but also on Liberty as well. So just examine the thickness and the stretching of some of the devices on this coin, and you'll understand what you're looking for. The cat's eye loop of the inside of the 0 is telling. It's one of the most amazing parts of this variety. This one sold for $18.50. So once this one becomes a Cherry Picker's Guide variety, it's going to catapult it into territory that a lot of people want to start finding these. You should probably end up starting now, so that way you could be a little bit quicker than the rest in terms of having a few of these in your collection before things really do take off. And here's the other one here too. This has been on my hit list for quite some time, and I have had no luck finding it. 2018 WDDO number 1. This is the big double die for this date. And pretty incredible. Again, you have that stretched out 0 in the date. Lots of thickness all around, and especially on Liberty as well. So always look for these. You could always go on to like coppercoins.com and look at I guess what you call it. I can't even think today, but you could look at not only the close-ups of the die itself, but also look at the markers. That's what I was laboring to get out. There's going to be die markers that are specific to that doubled die that you could, kind of look for on your coin just to make sure you have what you think you have. This one right here, another strong showing at $45. These all tend to sell for a pretty healthy amount of money on the secondary market, and I will see that continuing on. And again, this is one of those candidates that I could see in the future being in the Cherry Picker's Guide. And once that happens, these things are going to take off. Okay, well, Bessie Coleman is certainly the flavor of the first few months of the year. Things are starting to kind of wane down a little bit on this coin, in anticipation for the next release. But still, something to keep an eye out for are the die chips on the plane. Like this one here has a pretty noticeable die chip that connects to the bottom loop of the U in Unum. It looks like whipped cream, which is cool. Or maybe smoke, however you want to look at it. But this is a really good one to be on the lookout for. And this one ended up selling for $20.25. Always a popular one. And with that being said, the bigger the die chip or the stage of that die chip that you do find on these, the more actively pursued they're going to be, because people are putting progression sets of these coins. And of course, who could forget the burning building strike through on the Tuskegee Airmen? Another one showed up here in the last day. And, we're still seeing them. And they're all in decent shape, while they last. This one has that large size field restricted strike through on the reverse, right above the building there. That's not a normal thing, by the way, in case you're wondering. This one ended up selling for $51.76 with 13 bids. So still pretty good activity here. It didn't completely lose all of its value. Now this is exciting. How often do you get to see a brand spanking used pre-owned? I was going to say new. It's not new at all. But this is what they call sealed equity, ladies and gentlemen. We have a $50 bag of 1960 Denver Lincoln Memorial Cents. How exciting is that? And it's worth a lot of money as long as you don't open it. And that's exactly what this person did. Kept it sealed, $50 face value. They ended up selling this bag right here for $900. And that is exactly what I'm talking about. A lot of the, brand new boxes of coin that you see today are definitely worth holding on to. If you don't need the $25, just go ahead and, store it away, because they will be worth something, quite a bit more money than face value in the future. And that's kind of like one way that you could monetize off of the hobby, is simply just keeping sealed product set aside. Sure, they're not the most portable things by any means, but if you end up hoarding one specific date that had a lot of varieties or errors in there, like, for example, 2021 Lincolns, that would be a good one to hold on to. And we actually have an example of one of those errors here in the show. So there's a little bit of a top image of the seam. It looks good to go. Has been tampered with, and it's got the pull tab string right here, which is what you want to see on these mint sewn bags. Pretty nice little lot right here. We have a lot of early 70s, late 60s Lincoln Memorial Cents, and they're gorgeous. These are nice coins with some toning and just mint state red all abounds. 1968S, 1970S, and a 1971 Lincoln. They're all off-center, anywhere from like 20% to as high as 50%. This is a really good perspective lot for not only adding to your collection, because these are tougher dates, but if you wanted to resell these, you could certainly do that. Now, the idea is with lots, you want to buy one cheap enough so that way you could end up doubling your money or more. Sometimes it doesn't quite work out that way, but in this case, there might be a little room to make some money. This one right here sold for $152.48, which puts it right around $50 per piece. I could see these possibly selling for about $75 each, because they are tougher dates. They have full dates with mint marks. Oh, just good looking 1999p Jefferson Nickel Broad Strike. This thing's probably about the size of a quarter, but we do see these week in, week out on the PCMR. So really no big secret, just a really good looking oddball error coin. This one sold for $41.87 with 9 total bids, it looks like. And yeah, I mean, if you guys aren't looking for this, I don't know what you guys are doing, but 1982 Philadelphia minted Roosevelt dimes all had the P mint mark on them, but there were a few of them that whatever happened at the mint, they inadvertently left some of the working dies without the mint marks. So they ended up striking up a number of these without P mint marks. So they call them 1982 no P or plains. And these are like these are a hot meal ticket for people that do find them, and very valuable. This is what they consider to be the weak strike of the 82 no P. You can see the weakness all around the rim on the obverse. They also have a strong type, which sells for a lot more money. This one sold for $214.95. Again, a lot of money for a coin that is just over 40 years old. And, you know, dimes, nobody really pays attention to dimes, but maybe seeing one of these sell, you should pay and take seriously the series. 1925, what looks to be an S Mint Buffalo Nickel. This is the 2 feather variety, so this one has a missing feather right here. So an over-abraded die is what generally causes this event. This one right here sold for $35. Wow, not too bad. That's a pretty decent amount of cash for this. And it looks like it was probably cherry-picked for a few bucks, if that, which is, you know, a good way of making money is looking for these 2 feather variety buffaloes. And here's that Clash Die 2017P Lincoln Shield scent. Man, you guys need to be on the lookout for these. You know, for as many of these that have been sold on eBay, you'd figure the price would somehow be affected. But not so. That's just not the case. This one right here is a very attractive Mid-State Red version, which is, you know, probably one of the types of grades that you will come across. But check out the clashing. You can see Unum, some of the lines from the shield, all on the obverse of the coin. Very beautiful. This one sold for $40.25. So that's like easy money. They all sell for $35 to $40 each and every single time. Yeah, check this thing out. This thing's cool. South Carolina statehood quarter, and it's a Denver 2000D South Carolina with 2 pretty nice sized curved clips right on the coin there. You know, really nice. Again, any sort of statehood quarter error of this type, you know, will be desired. This one right here sold for $38.77 with 13 bits. So, yeah, pretty pricey. You know, just like the bicentennial quarters, you know, people are constantly looking through those for any sort of error. Like if this was on a bicentennial quarter, watch out. You know, that's going to be like a $75 to $100 coin based off that. So here's our other Fort Moultrie, which looks like there's fireballs being flung all around on the reverse of the coin, and that is cool. But this was out long before the field restricted strike through popularity. It kind of took off, you know, in the year 2020. But yeah, people tend to forget that this was like one of the first iterations of this type of error on there on a 2016P. Coin came right out of circulation. I mean, it's not the most gorgeous example, but if you did find it, you know, you're going to get a little something out of it. And the seller just happened to do just that. Sold it for $26.01. I mean, sure, I would sell it for that much myself. Now, a mid-state version I would keep for my collection if you could find those. But this is a really cool coin, too, to look for. And then finally, oh my goodness, you guys remember this? 2021P Lincoln Shield set with the large retained cud obverse. This is what one looks like after it's been around the block a few 100 dozen times. This one even has the Ring of Death on the obverse. It's got all sorts of crap on there. This one is unrecognizable as a mint error. I'm just going to be straight up honest. It looks like damage, but no, this is indeed the big error for 2021. And this goes to show you that these are still out there. They're still floating around, still being overlooked even today. So where did this one end up at? How about $205.25 for a coin in mint state condition that sells for between $300 and $400 today? Wow. So there you go. Little word of advice. Do not toss these aside if they look like hot garbage, because the hot garbage can turn into dollar bills really easily. So with that being said, that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for this edition of the Pocket Change Market Report. This was a lot of fun. A lot of great new stuff we've never talked about making an appearance on the show. I'm your host, Sean, with BlueRidgeSilverhound. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my content. And come check me out on TikTok as well, at BlueRidgeSilverhound. I will have my next Whatnot live auction this coming Friday, 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time in the evening, and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for you folks there on the East Coast. And of course, you guys in the Central and Mountain Times, you know where you sit for that one. So I will have the links down below, along with my referral link if you haven't signed up to claim your $15 credit to use on a Buy It Now that I have on there for like silver coins and things like that. Go ahead and do it. But also I will have my my link to my show. That's going to be happening on Friday down below, so you could bookmark it from there as well. Well, I'm going to take off. There's the cruddy looking 2021 yet again for your viewing enjoyment. And yeah, be on the lookout for that and so much more in your pocket change. I will see you guys next time. Have a good time with a hobby, and I'll see you for more coin videos.